Welcome, English Stories Cube. Today, we travel back in time, about 350 years, to the green countryside of England. The year is 1666. There are no computers, no smartphones, no electric lights. People do not understand why objects fall to the ground. They do not understand how the planets move in the sky. They do not understand what light is made of. Then one young man, sitting quietly in a garden, changed everything. His name was Isaac Newton. He was not a king or a soldier or a famous speaker. He was a quiet, serious, deeply curious man who spent his life asking one simple question. Why? Why does an apple fall down and not up? Why does the moon stay in the sky and not fall? Why does white light split into colors? These simple questions led Newton to discoveries that changed science, mathematics, and our understanding of the entire universe forever. This is a story. It is a story of curiosity, hard work, loneliness, genius, and the extraordinary power of asking questions. Read it slowly. Read it aloud, and let it inspire you in English and in life. Chapter 1. A tiny baby who surprised everyone. Isaac Newton was born on January 4th, 1643, in a small village called Woolsthorpe in Lincolnshire, England. His father, also named Isaac Newton, had died 3 months before Isaac was born. This means Isaac never knew his father. When Isaac was born, he was extremely small and weak. He was born too early, what doctors call premature. He was so tiny that people said he could fit inside a large coffee mug. Nobody believed this small, fragile baby would survive even 1 week. But Isaac surprised everyone. He survived. He grew. And as he grew, it became clear that this quiet, small boy had an extraordinary mind inside that small body. When Isaac was only 3 years old, his mother Hannah remarried. Her new husband, a wealthy clergyman named Barnabas Smith, did not want Isaac to live with them. So Isaac's mother left him behind. She went to live with her new husband, and Isaac was raised by his grandmother. This was deeply painful for young Isaac. He felt abandoned and unloved. He grew up to be a very private, quiet, and sometimes difficult person. He did not make friends easily. He preferred to be alone with his books and his thoughts. But this loneliness also gave him something precious. Hours and hours of quiet time to think, observe, and question the world around him. Chapter 2. The Boy Who Built Everything. As a child, Isaac Newton was not considered a brilliant student by his teachers. He was quiet and did not always perform well in class. But outside the classroom, something very different was happening. Isaac had an extraordinary talent with his hands. He loved to build things. He built small windmills and then tested them to see how they worked. He built water clocks that used dripping water to measure time. He built kites and flew them at night with small paper lanterns attached, frightening the neighbors, who thought they were seeing comets in the sky. He filled notebooks with careful drawings and measurements. He observed everything. He questioned everything. He was not the kind of boy who accepted simple answers. If someone told him something was true, he wanted to test it himself. At school, there was a boy who was bigger and stronger than Isaac who often bullied him. One day, Isaac decided to fight back, not with his fists but with his brain. He worked harder than ever and scored higher marks than the bully in every single subject. This became a pattern in Isaac's life. When someone doubted him or pushed him down, he worked harder and proved them wrong. At the age of 18, Isaac Newton went to Trinity College, Cambridge, one of the greatest universities in England. And here, the real story of his genius was about to begin. Chapter 3: The Miracle Year, an Apple and a Revolution. In 1665, something terrible happened in England. The Great Plague arrived. This deadly disease spread rapidly through cities, killing thousands of people every week. Cambridge University was forced to close. All the students were sent home to protect themselves from the disease. For most students, this was a disaster. Their education was interrupted. But for Isaac Newton, this period at home became one of the most productive times in the history of science. Historians later called it his annus mirabilis, a Latin phrase meaning miracle year. Newton returned to his family home in Woolsthorpe. He had no teachers, no classes, and no distractions. Just a quiet garden, a sky full of stars, and a mind full of questions. It was here, in this simple country garden, that the famous apple story happened. One day, Newton was sitting under an apple tree when an apple fell to the ground. Most people would not think twice about this. But Newton asked, why does the apple always fall straight down? Why not sideways? Why not upward? What force is pulling it toward the earth? This question, so simple, so obvious, led Newton to one of the greatest discoveries in history, the theory of gravity. He realized that the same force pulling the apple down was also pulling the moon toward the earth, keeping it in orbit. And this same force kept all the planets moving around the sun. In just 18 months at home, Newton also made major discoveries in mathematics, inventing an entirely new type of math called calculus. He also began his experiments with light, using a prism to discover that white light is actually made up of all the colors of the rainbow. Chapter 4: Light, Color, and a Brilliant Experiment. One of Newton's most beautiful discoveries was about light. In his time, most people believed that white light was pure, a simple, single thing. Some scientists thought that color came from the glass or water that light passed through. Nobody truly understood what color and light really were. Newton decided to find out for himself. He closed all the windows in a dark room and made a very small hole in the curtain to let in just a thin beam of sunlight. Then he placed a glass prism in the path of this beam. What happened next astonished him. The white light entered the prism and came out the other side as a beautiful rainbow of colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. The prism had not added color to the light. It had revealed colors that were already inside the white light. Newton then took a second prism and used it to recombine those colors back into white light. This proved beyond any doubt that white light is not pure. It is a mixture of all colors together. This discovery completely changed the science of optics, the study of light. It also led, many years later, to technologies like cameras, telescopes, and even the screens of the phones and computers we use today. Newton published his findings in a book called Optics in 1704. It was written in clear, simple English, unusual for a scientific book at that time, so that more people could read and understand it. Chapter 5: The greatest book in the history of science. After his miracle year, Newton returned to Cambridge University. He became a professor of mathematics. He continued his research, but he was a very private man. He rarely shared his discoveries with others. He worried that people would argue with him or criticize his work. He found conflict very difficult and unpleasant. For years, his greatest discoveries sat in his notebooks, unseen by the world. Then, In 1684, a scientist and friend named Edmund Halley, the man who discovered Halley's Comet, came to visit Newton. Halley and other scientists had been trying to understand the movement of the planets. Halley asked Newton, what path would a planet follow if it were pulled toward the sun by a force that grew weaker with distance? Newton replied immediately, an ellipse. Halley was amazed. Newton already knew the answer. How? Newton showed Halley his notebooks. Halley was astonished at what he found. Years and years of brilliant mathematics and physics that Newton had kept completely private. Halley encouraged Newton, and paid for it himself, to publish his work. Newton spent the next 18 months writing what became the most important science book ever written. It was called Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, in English. Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. Scientists simply call it the Principia. Published in 1687, the Principia explained Newton's 3 laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation. It described, using mathematics, how objects move on Earth and how planets move through space. It was so advanced, so complete, so brilliant that it remained the foundation of physics for the next 200 years. Chapter 6. Newton's 3 Laws, in simple English. Newton's 3 laws of motion are among the most important ideas in all of science. They explain how and why things move. Here they are in simple, everyday English. First law, the law of inertia. If something is not moving, it will stay still, unless a force pushes or pulls it. And if something is already moving, it will keep moving in the same direction, unless a force stops it or changes its direction. In simple words, things like to keep doing what they are already doing. Think about this. When a car suddenly stops, your body moves forward. That is because your body was moving and wanted to keep moving, even when the car stopped. This is inertia. Second law, force, mass, and acceleration. The harder you push something, the faster it will accelerate, and heavier objects need more force to move them. In simple words, a bigger push makes a bigger movement. Think about this. Pushing a bicycle is easy. Pushing a heavy truck requires much more force. That is Newton's second law in everyday life. Third law, action and reaction. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In simple words, every push is a pushback. Think about this. When a rocket fires its engines downward, the rocket is pushed upward. That is why rockets can fly into space. It is Newton's third law at work. These 3 laws, discovered by a quiet man sitting alone in a garden over 350 years ago, are still used today by engineers, pilots, astronauts, and scientists every single day. Chapter 7. A difficult man, a great mind. Newton was undoubtedly one of the greatest minds in human history, but he was also a very difficult person to know and to work with. He had very few close friends throughout his life. He never married. He was suspicious of other people and did not trust easily. When other scientists disagreed with him, which happened often, he could become very angry and hold grudges for years. His most famous dispute was with a German mathematician named Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Both Newton and Leibniz had independently invented calculus, the advanced form of mathematics. But both men claimed to have invented it first. The argument between them was bitter and lasted for decades, dividing mathematicians in England and Europe into 2 angry camps. Most historians today believe both men invented calculus independently, at roughly the same time. Newton also spent many years studying alchemy, the ancient attempt to turn ordinary metals into gold. He filled hundreds of pages with notes on alchemy experiments. He also spent enormous amounts of time studying the Bible and theology. These were unusual interests for a man of science, but Newton saw no contradiction. For him, understanding the natural world was simply another way of understanding God's creation. In later life, Newton became very famous and respected. He was made president of the Royal Society, the most important scientific organization in England. He was also made master of the Royal Mint, in charge of England's money. He was knighted by Queen and in 1705, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. He lived until the age of 84, a very long life for that era. Chapter 8. Newton's Legacy, Standing on Giant Shoulders. Isaac Newton died on March 31st, 1727, at the age of 84. He was buried in Westminster Abbey, the most famous church in England, where kings and queens and the greatest people in British history are laid to rest. It was a remarkable honor for a farmer's son from a small village in Lincolnshire. Newton's discoveries did not just advance science. They transformed the entire way human beings understand the universe. Before Newton, the movements of the planets and the behavior of objects on Earth were mysterious. After Newton, they could be calculated, predicted, and understood. His work made the Industrial Revolution possible. Engineers used his laws of motion to design engines, bridges, and machines. His understanding of gravity made it possible, centuries later, to calculate the paths of spacecraft and send human beings to the moon. In 1969, when NASA's Apollo 11 spacecraft landed on the moon, the calculations that made that journey possible were based on Newton's laws of motion and gravity, written in 1687. This means a man who never saw an electric light, never rode in a car, and never imagined airplanes, made the moon landing mathematically possible. Albert Einstein, perhaps the only scientist as great as Newton, once said that his own work was only possible because he stood on the shoulders of Newton. Einstein's theory of relativity did not replace Newton's laws. It extended them, adding understanding of extreme conditions like very high speeds and very large distances. Newton himself, with his characteristic humility, once wrote, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." He meant that his discoveries were only possible because of the work of earlier scientists who came before him. Today, every student of physics, engineering, and mathematics still learns Newton's laws. Every rocket launched into space uses his equations. Every bridge built, every car designed, every ball thrown, all follow the rules that one quiet, curious, lonely man discovered in a garden in England more than 350 years ago. Thank you for reading this story. Newton's life teaches us that curiosity is the most powerful tool a human being can have. It teaches us that great things often come from quiet, lonely people who simply never stop asking, why? Keep reading, keep learning, and like Newton, never stop asking questions.